Welcome to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and today we are making some delicious fruit and nut crackers with a spreadable cashew cheese.
Grab a plate, 'cause it's the all-free whole food plant-based cooking show.
Today's show is brought to you in part by Growing Spaces. Within 7 days of harvesting, most fruits and vegetables lose 50% of their nutritional value and can sit in storage for weeks before appearing on the store shelves. The best way to get the complete nutrition from your produce is to pick it fresh, right off the vine from your own backyard greenhouse. For over 30 years, Growing Spaces has been providing geodesic greenhouses for families, communities, and nonprofit organizations that allow growing year-round, regardless of weather conditions, even under 2 feet of snow. We plan on installing one in the future here on the show. As a very special deal for our viewers, click the link in the description to learn more and to save 5% off of your order. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I hope you guys are all staying warm out there. Today we got a great recipe for you. These are fruit and seed crisps or crackers, and we're gonna put a spreadable cashew cheese on them. So delicious and crunchy, love it. So we're just going to jump right in. If you want a printable version of the recipe, it'll be in the details in the link below. So we're starting out with 2 cups of buckwheat flour, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 2 tablespoons of poppy seeds. So we're just going to gently stir that up a little bit, just to get them incorporated, just like that. Okay, now we're going to mix together some of the wet ingredients. So I have 2 cups of soy milk here, but I'm just going to pour about half of it in here, really. I'm just using the soy milk, this is an unsweetened soy milk, to blend the date paste. This is a ½ cup of date paste. And if you don't have date paste, you can use just dates too. Maybe like a ½ to 3/4 of a cup of dates will be equal to that. So now we're just going to blend that. And you just need a small blender. I've got my NutriBullet here, and it just needs to break up the date paste, really. Okay, that's plenty good. I'm just going to set that right here for a minute. I'm going to pour my 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in there. And now we're going to put into the flour, we're going to put in our seed mix and our fruit mix. So I have seeds here. I've got a mixture of sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and sesame seeds. So it comes out to about 1/3 of a cup each, but I really like the delicate crunch of the sesame seeds, so I always do a little bit more sesame seeds than the other seeds. I'll pour them in there. And you could, if you don't have a nut allergy, you could do like chopped pecans or walnuts. That would be delicious in there too. And what I have here, it's just dried fruit. I've got raisins, diced up apricots, and cranberries. So we're going to stir this up a little bit so that the flour kind of coats all of the dried fruit. And it's always good to do that first, to stir the dried fruit and stuff up with the flour so that it coats it. Because when you get the wet ingredients in there, you start stirring it up, then the fruit, the dried fruit doesn't clump up together or sink to the bottom of your bread. So this just keeps it from doing that. Okay, now we'll put in our liquids and the rest of our soy milk here. And we're going to stir it up. And I already have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. And I got out 2 silicone baking loaf tins. If you don't have that, you could use just regular ones, line them with some parchment paper, and that'll work great too. Oops, slopped over the side there. Okay, You want to mix this well so you don't get any dry flour spots or clumps with the baking soda or baking powder. And you can see as I'm stirring, it's already starting to thicken, which is what buckwheat flour does. It's wonderful. So I'm using buckwheat flour because it is gluten-free. Even though it's called buckwheat, there is no actual wheat in it. It's a grain or a seed. Super nutritious for you. It's got tons of nutrients and minerals. Just a great, healthy flour, especially if you're gluten-free. Okay, so I've got these two bread pans because the crisps are just little, they're little flat crisps like this. We don't want a big hunk of crisp. We just want little ones. So that's why we use the two loaves. So now you just want to, kind of equally divide the batter between these two tins. These are so delicious. If you know me, I always talk about how I love crunchy things, and I love chips in particular. Even though I know they're not great for me, I just can't get past them. I've tried all kinds of different things, and I found that these little crisps, I don't know if you remember, when I grew up, I remember them sort of like Melba toast. They're just super, super crunchy. So these, with the fruit and nut in there, you get a little bit of sweetness from the fruit. So it kind of hits all of those things. It hits a little bit of saltiness, a little bit of the sweet, and then the intense crunch. Perfect. All right, so now we're going to stick these in the oven for between 30 to 40 minutes. So let's get them in. Today's show is brought to you in part by Complement. As healthy as it is, did you know there are a handful of missing or hard to get nutrients from a plant-based diet? The latest research suggests that complementing your diet with a few specific vitamins, minerals, and omega-3s will help boost your energy and keep you thriving for the long term. That's why I take Complement Plus every day. Complement Plus contains the 8 critical nutrients in dosages optimized specifically for plant-based eaters. Plus, they're completely transparent about ingredient sourcing and third-party testing, publishing the results directly on their website. As a special discount for our viewers, just use the code WFPB15 at checkout to save 15% off of your order. Okay, so while those are baking, we are moving on to the delicious cashew cheese spread. You can also, if you have a nut allergy, you could do sunflower seeds, or if you could do almonds also. They all work. So this is 1 cup of cashews that I soaked for 2 hours. I just covered them with water, and then I just poured off the water right now. So we're going to put that into our blender. Got 1 teaspoon of miso paste. This is a white miso. 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast, 1 tablespoon of white wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon of Bragg's liquid aminos, or you could use a tamari or soy sauce instead, and a ½ teaspoon of onion powder. It is as simple as that, and a ½ cup of water. So we are just going to get this blending, and we're going to blend it until it is super creamy and all the graininess from those cashews is gone. It is as simple as that. Trust me, when you taste this, you're never going to buy any of that vegan cream cheese or spreadable cheese ever again. For one, most of them are loaded with oil or other ingredients that are like stabilizers and, freshness things. And to me, they end up kind of tasting a little like plastic. This is all good, all delicious. So right now it may look a little bit runny, But as it sits, it's gonna set up. Those cashews are gonna bulk up and absorb all of that liquid. So it'll be right in time for testing our crisps. Okay, the loaves are out. I put them out onto the cooling rack here, and they've been cooling about 10 minutes. So the next step is that you put them in the freezer for anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. And that makes them a lot more firm so that when you cut them, because the slices are very, very thin, it needs to be a bit more firm so it doesn't crumble when you cut them. So into the freezer. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share with you some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our new Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting members. By becoming a supporting member, you gain access to great member perks like monthly product giveaways, free downloads of our ebooks, and access to our in-depth courses, including our 28 Days Plant-Based Made Easy course, where we offer a step-by-step guide to making the switch to a fully plant-based diet. We create this show for the hundreds of thousands of viewers just like you who tune in each month from all over the world to make it easy for everyone to live a plant-based lifestyle. So if you love our content, please join us on our mission and become a supporting member today by following the link in the description. Okay, let's get back to the show. Okay, so I've brought the breads back out of the freezer. I probably left them in for a couple hours. They're not totally frozen, but they're nice and firm. So that's what you want. The other thing you're gonna need is a really nice sharp knife. Okay, not a bread cutting knife, just a sharp knife. So you're just gonna start, the first one's not gonna be great. The end piece is always a little off there. But you wanna cut super, super thin. If you can see that. See how thin that is. That's what we're looking for, because if you don't get them thin enough, then after baking, they just won't be that crispy. And you want them to be really nice and crispy. So you just keep cutting, and then I have my oven heated back up to 300 degrees. And then you're just gonna lay them out on your cookie sheet with some parchment paper and just lay them in a line, just like that, and just fill the whole thing. You probably need a couple cookie sheets. You could do just the one at a time and leave this guy, wrap it back up in some kind of like an airtight container and put it back in the freezer, because you could just do this again on another day, because this one loaf makes quite a few crisps. So I'm just going to continue doing this and fill the tray, and then we'll get them in the oven. Okay, so here's the whole tray of them. I'm gonna start by putting them in the oven for 15 minutes. Then I'm gonna pull it out and I'm gonna flip all of them over and bake them for another 15 minutes. And that should do it. If you check them after the 2 times of 15 minutes and you feel like they're still not quite dry, you can always put them in for, flip them and put them in for another 5 to 10 minutes. But usually the 15 minutes on each side is perfect. Okay guys, come on and take a look. They are out of the oven. Oh, they smell good. I know they taste good. Nice and crispy. So I'm gonna grab the cheese and I'll meet you at the table for a taste. Okay, tasting time. I'm gonna put a little of this delicious cheese on there. Oh, yum. The combination together, I mean, they're good on their own, but that takes it to a whole other level. So crunchy, and you get the little bits of dried fruit in there, and it's like chewy. And the cheese is a little bit salty. So it gives you that a little bit tangy, a little bit salty, a little bit sweet, crunchy. Oh yeah. So be sure to give this a like, and I'll see you next week for another great recipe.